Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at CSS3 box shadows. So we're going to apply shadows to all three of these images and to the title. And we're going to use just CSS. There's no images being used at all. It's part of the new CSS3 lineup. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to need to do is come to my website to download the tutorial files. And while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter. If you go below the screen, you can click on the button for download Dreamweaver tutorial files. And that will be a zip file, and you can open it up and there'll be the finished version of the files and the starting version of the files. So once you've downloaded it, you need to install it into Dreamweaver by going to Site and to New Site, and then you can go onto the Advanced tab and you can give it a site name. I'm going to give mine CSS3, that's my site name, and you just need to tell it where the root folder is and where the default images folder, and the Dreamweaver will do the rest for you. In the download I might also include a video or some sort of instruction showing you how to install it in Dreamweaver as well. But once you've installed it, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. It's 3 Polaroid images that I've constructed, and I've put a little bit of a title underneath as well. So all we're going to do is apply some shadows to the whole area. Okay, so it's well worth the download just to see how I constructed the web page itself. So let's preview this in Firefox. And the first thing we're going to do is add a box shadow to the title area here. And I'm going to show you a few techniques that we can use to accomplish that. Okay, so I'm going back into Dreamweaver now. I'm going to split the screen to show the code. And if you scroll through the code, you'll see there's quite a bit of code in there. Lots of floating, lots of paddings and margins. But if we click on the title area itself, we can see that it has an ID of title and it is a div. And we can also see it just below the screen there. It will say div pound title. So that's where we need to target. So if you click inside the CSS and then click here in the CSS styles panel for pound title, that will expose that rule so we can adjust it. For those of you who watched my previous video on CSS curved corners or rounded corners, I'll put a link in the below bar. We had 2 different prefixes, the Moz prefix and we had the WebKit. So first we're going to do the Moz prefix for Firefox, which is -moz -box -shadow : Now this bit's important. The first figure is the horizontal offset. The second figure is the vertical offset, and the last figure, the 5 pixels, is the blur radius. And then we have to put in a color. So I'll put in #000 to give us a black shadow. Okay, now the WebKit prefix is typed like this. Now the thing to remember is that if it's a positive number, it's 15 pixels, it will appear on the right, so the horizontal offset. For the vertical offset, positive number, it will appear below. So it will be below and right. And there you go. So the box shadow is below 15 pixels, it's to the right 15 pixels, and it has a blur radius of 5 pixels. Now if you didn't put the blur radius, it would just be a solid block of colour. Now I've just changed the horizontal and vertical to 9 pixels, and you can see it's a smaller shadow, but we've still got the same 5 pixel blur radius. Okay, now back in Dreamweaver, I'll just change the colour of the shadow as well to show that you can change it, and I'll make it #999, nice sort of grey, subtle grey colour, and there you can see that the shadow has appeared. Now if we put negative figures in, as in minus figures, so if I put in here -9 pixels, it will have the opposite effect. So whereas the shadow appeared on the right, it will now appear on the left. And for the vertical offset, instead of appearing below, it will appear on top. So let's have a look at that. And there you go. So we're at top left now. Okay, so if we change the horizontal offset and we make it a non-minus figure, so we make it a +9 pixels, then you'll see in Firefox that it will appear on the right hand side. Okay, so when you download the tutorial files, I'll leave full instructions below the web page to show you exactly all the different combinations you can use there. Now I've just changed the blur radius to 0, so you can see that it will just be one block of colour, so it won't look too great. So you'll need to add a blur radius to it. And the good thing about the blur radius is you can sort of go from 0 all the way up to like 100 and 120 pixels. So if I set it to 90 pixels now, you'll see what it looks like, and it looks quite good. You can make quite a good effects using it. Okay, so that's some of the things you can do using the new box shadow attributes. Okay, so I'm just going to reset that back to where it was, so 5 pixels blur radius, and now we're going to have a look at the Polaroids that I've made with the 3 pictures below. Each one of them's got a title in it, and it's enclosed in one big wrapper div. So what we'll do is we'll apply the box shadow to the wrapper div. And in this occasion it's div IMG holder. So if we target the IMG holder, which holds and wraps around all of it, we can make the box shadows work. So we'll click inside the CSS, then we'll click on IMG holder, and we'll add the same attribute. So -mos -box -shadow : and I'll give it a positive horizontal and vertical, 8 pixels, and that's going to appear below and to the right, and we'll give it a 5 pixel blur radius as well, and I'll just add the WebKit prefix to. Okay, so let's not forget to put the colors in as well. So just before the colon, we'll put in #000, and we'll do the same with the WebKit prefix as well. Now you can render the WebKit one differently for Chrome and for Safari. You just change the figures. Okay, let's preview this in Firefox. Okay, and this is CSS3 rendered box shadows, so no images involved at all. This is such a time saver, it's ridiculous. And you can change the shadow to whatever color you want. So if I change the Mozilla one to a sort of nice sort of blue color, and we'll see how that renders now. Okay, so there you go. You can change the color of the box shadow, you can change the horizontal and vertical offsets, and you can also change the blur radius. And I'm going to do that now actually. I'll show you a little thing that you can do. If we change these both to 0 pixels, and we'll bump up the blur radius to 90 pixels, it creates a pretty good effect. So you've just got to really experiment with these new attributes. There you go. Okay, so I think that looks really, really cool. Now, just to show you the difference in rendering, if we have a look at the Safari one and see how that renders, I'll change that to the exact same prefix, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, and 90 pixels of blur radius with the same color. You'll see that it renders differently. So I'll just press refresh, and there you go. Look, the Firefox one was a lot more smudged. It seemed to encompass more of a blur radius, and this is the Safari version, which is much tighter. So there you go. There's the Firefox version. So you need to make sure you remember that while you're creating your web designs and rendering out. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe.